Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cool and Beautiful Rabbit Hole, King Dia, Lord Frey, Grim Clover, Internet, Bloodsport, City of Steel, and the upcoming Jaw the Dragon. I had a lot to say about the Nintendo Direct. A lot of stuff, but over the past couple of days, I haven't been able to respond to anything. I haven't been paying attention to discourse online. I don't care. I don't care what you people think. I only care about like my own impressions, and my impression was that, generally speaking, I hated this direct. It was one of the worst I've ever seen, if not the worst. I can't think of a single Nintendo Direct that pissed me off in so many different ways. But I think like the reason I hated it was like completely different than most people's, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Is the dissonance between like what I felt in regards to this and what everyone else felt. Because I think a lot of people were like excited to see like Pikmin 4, Zelda, some of these other games, Fire Emblem Engage. I think a lot of that stuff was like very, very well received among certain people. I personally disliked basically every major Nintendo game they showed off this showing. Specifically, in the case of Pikmin 4 and Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, I should keep calling. I should call it now. Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think they showed us anything. I don't think they should have announced the games. I don't like it when they do a Nintendo Direct, make a big announcement, and then just basically show a logo. Okay, that's fucking stupid. I hated like the shilling for Pikmin Bloom. That was stupid. I hated like the fixation on like uh some of these shovelware games. Like now not all of them were bad, especially not the farming games. Actually, the big thing I really, really want to talk about is the farming games because I think people do not understand how big this stuff is right now. Like Animal Crossing has sold like 40 million units on Switch. Stardew Valley is huge, and with Rune Factory bombing, with all these with Story of Seasons never like being Story Seasons is never really going to be relevant again. There is actually a big hole in the market. There is a very real demand for high quality farming simulators that is not being met by developers. So right now, a lot of people are coming forward to try and put out their Harvest Moon knockoffs because the actual Harvest Moon people are just completely it's never coming back ever. And I think like fans have accepted that at this point. So now there's this big gold rush to try and like make the next big farming simulator. Stardew Valley isn't ever going to put out a sequel, so like there is hypothetically a lot of money to be made here. If I was like in game development right now, that's what I would be doing is putting my effort into like making the best farming simulator. And Harvestella might actually be that. Like every time I've seen this game, I've been very impressed with it, with visually and like its aesthetics and like the way the game works. It might actually be a legitimately really good farming sim. So I just downloaded the demo, so we'll have to see. I'll probably do a first impressions video in a couple of minutes. But I am I did not have a problem with the farming games. Now, the farming games as a concept, the issue is that like a lot of them look low quality and a lot of them are making like very questionable decisions. Like the Harvest Moon remake, a big problem with Harvest Moon and Rune Factory is that they are shoving in gay marriage, something that like I am very much against. And because they incorporated that in Rune Factory 5, I straight up did not buy the game. That's right, Rune Factory 4, one of my favorite games on 3DS. I straight up did not buy Rune Factory 5. And of course, like Rune Factory 5 had a lot of other issues, technical problems. It just wasn't as good as 4 in a lot of ways. But like that kind of clinched it for me. I am not only am I not supporting 5, I'm not supporting Rune Factory again, period. They announced Rune Factory 3 as well. Not buying that either. Like Rune Factory is dead to me. I am dead serious about this. I don't support this kind of thing. If you try and shove homosexuality in a video game, I am not buying it. And yeah, I encourage you to do the same thing. So when it comes to that kind of thing, like I'm looking out for that. But like Harvestella seems like it doesn't have that at all. So Harvestella seems to be like the game that I think is going to dominate that sphere. It's more expensive than its competition, but it's also like way better looking, and it seems like it might actually have like a real plot, and it might actually innovate on the idea. Like I'm sick of the lack of innovation. All right, like the Harvest Moon people just were not able to like really innovate on the initial idea past like its initial concept. And I think with I think I think like Harvestella is like really taking a lot of steps to really push that barrier forward. Like a lot of people were complaining about the lack of marriage. I don't think Harvestella has marriage at all, actually, from what I understand. But like I think that might actually be an interesting direction to take this kind of thing. Is just make it a more like RPG-ish kind of plot line with this protagonist who just happens to be running a farm, right? That's something that's really interesting to me. It might be something a little bit different. Harvestella looks great. The front mission remakes, that looks great. Um, I was not impressed with Fire Emblem Engage, and I think that's the big thing that I am very iffy about, like going forward in this. I defended Three Houses when it was first shown off, and when it came out, I like fell in love with it. Edelgard's my waifu. I have her on my wall. I think about her all the time. She's amazing. I looking at Engage, it feels like they stripped away everything that I loved about Three Houses and everything I loved about like the past decades worth of Fire Emblem games in order to like focus on this weird like Fire Emblem Heroes style, just goofy, lighthearted adventure with like poor visual design, with simplistic like strategy aspects. Nothing about that looks appealing to me at all. It looks generic as fuck. I hate the character designs. I think it's safe to say that the protagonist in this is my least favorite Fire Emblem protagonist visually ever. A big reason why I thought the leaks were fake was that like I could not believe that such low quality models existed, but especially after Three Hopes, which looked great. But this was like disgusting. Like looking at the character models and looking at what they've done is just the game just looks terrible from like a visual standpoint and like with the change in tone and like things like that. Like there's only one route this time apparently, which I think is actually something that I wanted. Other than that though, nothing about this game looks appealing to me at all. Like I don't like the direction they're going with it. Like it just seems not what I wanted. And of course, like I'm not one of those people who thinks Fire Emblem should be like grim dark or anything like that. If anything, I think like Three Houses might have been too dark in some ways, because it makes some of like the characters' actions unrelatable, particularly Claude's in Three Hopes and Edelgard in certain routes. Like, um, it just like you just kind of have to like just kind of like accept that they do certain things, even if it like doesn't make sense for the characters. I think I definitely am a fan of like lighthearted Final Fantasy Final Fire Emblem games, right? Like I don't hate that idea of a more lighthearted game at all. Like the issue is just a quality one. Like I don't see this game really resonating with me as a player at all. And I'm curious just how many other people agree with me on that because the audience the reaction I've seen is like overwhelmingly negative. Like nobody seems impressed with this. So this might actually be the game that kind of sparks like the end of the Fire Emblem Renaissance that was brought about due to Awakening. Like it's kind of disappointing, but this might actually be like the first Fire Emblem game that like alienated its audience before it came out. Like Fates was like hyped up until launch. Like a lot of people like defended some aspects of Fates. I don't see people defending Engage in the same way. If Engage is bad, people are going to be furious. I think it's going to like I could see it like tanking in sales. I could see it like being a disaster for the brand. So we're gonna have to see how that plays out. But I myself, I'm not looking forward to it. What else did they? I can't think of anything else they announced, but all in all, it was just like a really poor showcase. And I've seen some people defend it. I've seen like some people talk about it. Like there are people, like I said, like there are people who are big fans of RPGs and farming sims who love this direct, and I I totally do understand that. If like that is your niche, if that's like your main thing, if you like playing like every obscure JRPG that exists, yeah, that is something you enjoy. For me personally, though, like there's not a lot in either of those genres that looked interesting to me, and I'm a fan of both, obviously. Like I like farming sims and I like JRPGs, but like my thing is that like I won't play it if it's like mediocre or even like above average. Like I don't like playing RPGs unless they're like stellar from start to finish. Stuff like Dragon Quest V, stuff like Final Fantasy VI, stuff like stuff like that, like Batten Kaitos Origins. Like, if I'm going to get into like an RPG, I'm really going to have to be invested in it. And like for most of these games, I don't really see that happening. Like, it kind of came up when like I was talking about Atelier, how like I would be interested in trying the games, but like first of all I don't have time, and second of all like I have so many RPGs that like I've been neglecting already, stuff that I am legitimately enjoying. Like, and I can't bring myself to like get into another JRPG franchise right now. So for now, I'm like kind of holding off on that kind of stuff. I think that's the problem with a lot of these with a lot of these reactions from Nintendo Directs. This is the issue that I have with other people who didn't like the Direct. And the reason I'm making the video is that like I wanted to complain about these people specifically. Like, if you don't like something, you don't have to complain about it, right? There are so many good games out there already that are coming out like in the near future. I don't understand why you would like make serious video game content like speculating that like, oh man, is Nintendo done? Are they giving up on the Switch? Are they going out of business? Like, are they producing anything of value this year when like is there something wrong with Breath of the Wild's development? Did Sony have a better presentation? I haven't even seen the Sony presentation, by the way. But like from what I understand, they just showcased a bunch of Yakuza and Tekken 8, none of which look like they're really going to evolve the formula anyway. Yakuza in general, I think, is going to fall off a cliff in the next couple of years. I don't see it remaining relevant the way it's going. But I am I am very I don't like how people are releasing statements saying that this direct was the worst ever because of the focus on JRPGs and farming sims. Because both of those things are extremely popular. They have an audience that clearly enjoys them, and that really should be all that's said about that. That is not the issue. My problem with the direct was that they showed too many logos and they didn't show enough gameplay of the stuff that I was interested in, specifically Tears of the Kingdom and Pikmin 4, and like some other bizarre decisions like showcasing the mobile game and just not showing a lot of good, interesting content in general. Again, like the farming sims, if anything, were like some of the better games I saw. Honestly, like I'm just I just don't see. I do think people need to stop complaining about genres that don't appeal to them. Like, I feel like that's not really what Nintendo Direct should be about. Like, if you're not interested in a specific genre or a game, like, you don't have to bitch about it incessantly. Like, that's kind of my view on it. Like, I don't, I am getting tired of people like complaining about like nonsensical aspects of these directs. Like, I watched like 5 minutes of the Bit Block, like talking about the direct, and he was talking about like how Koizumi comes up on screen. Oh man, what did you guys think? Like, he was like seriously like complaining about that. Like, oh man, how could he do this to us? Like, this is taking away time from the games. It's getting annoying. And I'm just like, you're looking for reasons to complain. And that's kind of what I feel in general is like looking at the discourse and like the people who agree with me that the direct wasn't good is that like people are looking for reasons to complain rather than talk about like the issues, like the real serious issues that were in this direct. People are like focusing on arbitrary things that don't really matter all that much. Like JRPGs and farming sims, basically. Um, I, I've gone on the record talking about how I don't like people complaining about JRPGs, but now or anime influences in games. But now I think that has to extend to farming sims as well, because I think the Nintendo audience isn't appreciating just how popular this stuff actually is. Like, this stuff, a lot of these games are going to do fairly well, and I am the audience is just going to ignore it. They're just going to pretend that this was a failure as a direct that didn't really appeal to anyone, when that really, honestly, is not the case. Obviously, not the case.